Well, welcome to our program for the Theological Education for Leadership program for Pacific School of Religion. I'm really glad you're here today. We have kind of a small group, but that's okay because we'll have more time for a conversation. And Tana Roseborough, who's the coordinator for the program, is going to be doing most of the speaking today, unless you all choose to do some speaking and have lots of questions and things like that. But let me open up in prayer as we begin today's time together. Our gracious God, we are so thankful for Pacific School of Religion and the ministry that they have for basically the entire world, but especially how they reach out to Hawaii and the west coast of the United States. I'm grateful for the opportunities that I've had to serve and also to introduce others. And God, we pray that today's time would be informational and inspirational. And we ask, oh God, that you would just open our hearts so that we would hear whatever it is that you would like for us to hear today. Amen. Well, just a couple brief announcements. If you haven't been here before, the bathrooms are right on the other side of that wall. The best way is to go out that door and right around because there's a road and a gate over here, and sometimes the gate's locked. But anyway, both men and women's restrooms over there. And this is a good time to either silence or turn off your cell phones and noise-making electronic devices if you have any of those. Later, when we have question and answer, we're going to ask people to use that microphone because even though we can probably hear you, this is being recorded because we know that there's some people that wanted to come today that couldn't make it. So we're going to make this available for everyone, and we want to make sure they hear your entire question. So you'll speak into that microphone, and also Michael will, our videographer, will make sure he's got a good picture of you, and that's why we have it face this direction so we can actually see who's speaking as well. I want to just say a few words about Pacific School of Religion and the TEL program before I hand the microphone over to Tana. I think it was, 2014 I arrived here. This is the second time I've served a church in Hawaii. And immediately somebody asked if I would like to serve on the Board of Trustees at Pacific School of Religion. Now, I had just moved here from the San Francisco Bay Area where PSR is, and I was just getting my feet wet. It just kind of landed, and there's a lot going on in my life, and I just said, this is just not a good time for me to, take on anything that big right now. But when the new president, David Vasquez-Levy, came back the next year, he met with me and personally invited me and told me why he would like for me to be involved. And I just thought, I think I'm ready to do this. And one of the reasons was because I had a pretty good theological education myself, but also because I had a lot of training and experience with fundraising for nonprofit religious organizations. And so he asked if I would serve not only on the Board of Trustees, but as part of the Board of Trustees, would I serve on the development committee that oversaw all the fundraising for the entire school and all of its programs. And so I did that for, I think, 2 years, and then I became the chair of the program. So one of the things that I learned in that committee was that it's very expensive to run a school like Pacific School of Religion. The tuitions and things that people pay to actually take classes are just a really small portion. So for years, my job as a volunteer was to help connect people, to give. So I'm always eager if anybody wants to talk to me about gifts, either from individuals or from churches, just let me know. I'm happy to tell you how to do that and what would be meaningful and connect you with other people also. And then I just wanted to say that when I first talked to David Vasquez-Levy, the president of Pacific School of Religion, about the TEL program here in Hawaii, I was so excited because I kept hearing about how many of our lay people would like further and deeper theological education, but couldn't take time off to go live in Berkeley for a year or 2 or 3 to do that. I also heard that there's some ministers that would like to deepen, pastors, ordained ministers, to deepen their theological education. But again, they're working here and weren't able to go live in Berkeley for an extended period of time. So we actually developed this program for people that can attend online for the most part. And then each island is able to have a cohort, and it's really up to each island. Like if we want to have a cohort, Barry Mick was our cohort facilitator for the first year and a half or so. But we want to make sure that if you sign up, you've got other people that you're connecting with here on the island just to check in and talk. When I found out Tana was coming, David Vasquez-Levy let me know that she was going to be here this weekend. Two things I thought of right away is, I'd love for her to come and just share what she's learned as the relatively new program coordinator and how that all kind of came together. And feel free to say some words about Janice and how you knew her and ended up in this position. But the other thing is, I thought, well, it's Martin Luther King Jr. weekend. I would love for her to preach this morning, and she just did a wonderful job leading our congregation. So I'm excited to have her here to talk a little bit about the TEL program at PSR. But what she told me is she just has a little bit she wants to share, and then she wants to hear from all of you folks, really, just anybody that is interested in any way, just to share at all. And again, when we get to that point, if you can remember to use that microphone. And if you forget, I'll remind you. So without any further ado, Tana Roseborough.
I was sharing, I'm fully Pentecostal and I'm unapologetic about it, so I like a speak back and a clapping group of people, so thank you for that. Just for introduction's sake again, my name is Reverend Tana Roseborough, sometimes Reverend Tana Roseborough March, depending on where I'm located in the day, but I am the program coordinator for TEL, which is the Theological Education for Leadership. This is housed within Pacific School of Religion, which is located in Berkeley, California. Now, I'm not in Berkeley, California. I'm currently located in North Carolina. But TEL is an online program, so it'll all make sense a little bit later. What I failed to do was bring my business card. So I'm going to say it to you, but don't worry about having to write it down. If you need it again, I'll give it to you. But you can reach me, Reverend Tana Roseborough, Program Coordinator at troseborough@psr.edu. Again, that is T Roseborough, Roseboro, at psr.edu. My phone number is 510-849-8267. Again, that is 510-849-8267. Y'all, back in the day, I used to be a 411 operator, so that's where my operator force comes in. The webpage, you can always reach us at psr.edu/centers/TEL. And when you get to that information page on the TEL page, if you would like to know more information, if you sign up on one of the pages, there's a clipboard. You could either write your information there, or you can go on that TEL webpage and put, I'd like to know more information, and I'll be able to get that from you and be able to call you or text you or set up a Zoom with you, however you choose to meet up with me. And if you didn't get any of that in here today, just see me afterwards. I'm going to give you really a very little brief bit about TEL and how I came into the position. But TEL provides a strong theological leadership training for lay and clergy leaders, equipping you to strengthen your congregation or create new ministries or build on the ministries that you already have. TEL includes highly engaging, sensitive, and community-minded courses and seminars that bring participants into direct conversation with seminary faculty, faith leaders, and each other. Just a little bit more, TEL cohorts, when they come into classrooms together on Zoom, they become family. After you take a few classes with the same people and hear their stories, because often you're introducing yourself over and over again because you have a new professor per course, you become family. And, learning to speak even more about the subjects that you are learning. We have designed TEL to meet people where they are. You may say, well, I don't do a whole lot of writing. Well, you can also provide your assignments via audio or video. You may have some difficulty with some reading. Speak with a professor or me about that. We can help you. The point of TEL is to make theological education really accessible to everyone, accessible in the ways in which you need to learn it, the ways in which your assignments are turned in, and otherwise. I cannot talk about TEL, and I don't know if I'll ever be able to talk about TEL without talking about my predecessor, Reverend Janice Smith Somerville. As I stated this morning, Janice was the fuel that ran the TEL program. TEL was her heart and soul. She called this program a gateway. And the reason why she called it so much a gateway is because once you get that theological education, very often students that complete a TEL certificate, a CTEL certificate, entered seminary for a Master's of Divinity or a Master's of Art of some form. And truly, it is. It's what one of our professors at Pacific School of Religion called a nano degree, because within the 11 courses and 2 seminars, you really touch on every single subject that someone that gets an MDiv, you touch on every subject from an MDiv degree. Not as in depth, not as broad, but you touch on it. And some end up wanting to learn just a little bit more. So it's a gateway. It's a way of broadening your mind, broadening your horizons. What I love hearing within this particular cohort, because this will be my first cohort as the director, is I'm going to take this practice into my job. Oh, that's a good idea, and I'm going to take this into my church. What we try to provide and what we do provide are ways in which to expand the ministries that you're already in. TEL students are already working adults. They are already in ministry. They're usually already within a Christian or spiritual organization. What TEL provides is ways for them to step that organization work up, to expand the knowledge that they have and grow more in Christ, grow more spiritually, grow more inwardly. And I'll talk a little bit more about those courses, but Janice was the heart, she was the fuel of this program. She loved this program. And when I came into the program, there's an outline for Janice to do work right here in Hawaii, to do the ministry work, to do the educational, theological work. And so I'm here not only as the program coordinator, but I stand on the shoulders of Janice. I stand on her shoulders to do this work that she was called to do, and I'm called for the next leg. It's kind of like a relay. I'm on this next leg of this relay. And I believe in it wholeheartedly that the work we're doing is a good soul work. TEL offers students, okay, let me tell you. I told you the TEL is Theological Education for Leadership, and you may hear me say CTEL and not know what in the world I'm talking about. So we offer sometimes more than one program. Currently, right now, we're offering CTEL, which is the Certificate of Theological Education for Leadership. What that entails is 11 classes and 2 seminars, completed over a 13-month period of time. Now, I hear you might be working. What happens if I can't do it over a 13 months period of time? We do offer you another year to complete that which you may have missed within that first 13 months of time. We give you the next 13 months to complete those courses that you may be lacking to complete your CTEL certificate. But you may say, Tana, I don't want to do 13 months, but I do see something that I would like to take. You're also welcome to take individual courses or individual seminars. And there are special seminars at times that will be offered. We will have one that will be offered actually in February, which is to be the first that we'll ever offer it. Briefly, it's called Professors of Practice, and the dean will be offering that particular program. What we're trying to do is bring TEL students more closely together with graduate students, so that TEL students are not just having conversation with TEL students are also having conversations with graduate students. Why is this important? TEL students, as I said, are already in ministry. They're already in church. They're already working with community. Graduate students can tend to be in a bubble, and so they're working with theory. But to talk to people who are in ministry and then talking to people who are working around theory, they come together and they broaden each other's understanding of ministry, of theology, of education. So this will be the first one that we will offer, which is in February, which is Professors of Practice. It will not be the last one we offer, but a little bit more on that later. Did I tell you what's, yeah, so the Certificate of Theological for Education Leadership is that certificate that is 11 months and 11 courses and 2 seminars, or you can take it individually. Clear? All right. Courses are designed for 4 weeks, around 4 weeks. They're usually within the same month, but you meet via Zoom on the first and the third Saturdays, okay? And in between time, you have individual coursework that you may do. So here, you may do it with your cohort or meet together to answer some questions on Moodle. Usually we have what we call as a frequently asked questions, which I freely give out. The only reason why I don't give it out this particular time because we are really right at the point of revamping it again, but it will be available on that PSR TEL website. So if you check back in a couple of weeks, it will be updated. So everything you pretty much want to know, we have it written out and answered for you. So things like how long does it take? About 13 months to almost 26 months, dependent. Each course meets monthly for 2 sessions, 3 hours each. Seminars meet one time for 3 hours. So one of our most recent seminar sessions was church administration. I also sit in on the TEL courses myself because I want to know what the students are learning, how things can go, how we can improve. Church administration is a good one because I just didn't know how much it took to run a church. Very great class. Our next seminar was mental health and self-care. I am a great believer in us taking care of our minds and our bodies. To have self-care, if we're going to lead other people, we got to be able to take care of ourselves, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Amen? All right. How much class time should you expect? Again, classes run about 4 Saturdays. You're expected to meet 2 times within that particular course. Assignments can range from an hour to 4 within a week's time. Again, you can turn your assignments in via Moodle, which is it's an interface online, but our professors are really flexible. Some people just don't get Moodle. It's just kind of a thing. You just don't get it. And you're allowed to turn it in and email it to your professor, right? So we're flexible. If you work with us, we'll work with you. Other questions that are asked are, will I be expected to write long papers? No. Again, we recognize that we are working with people who have a life, who have family, who have other obligations. The most you're expected to write may be a final assignment, which may be a page or 2. Again, those assignments have the options of being turned in audio or visual. You speak with your professor and me about it, and we can work with that. So no long papers. We don't also expect for you to go out and purchase a book. You can purchase it if you like, but we will offer everything via PDF online for you. Most things through Moodle. At times, I will email some things out to you. So you do not have to purchase any books. You don't have to purchase any videos. We provide everything for you. What technology do you need to participate? You need Zoom. So you need a computer. You need good Wi-Fi and a camera because we like to see your face. As again, when you get online every other Saturday and you see your cohort, this particular cohort, sometimes we have to say, okay, Rusty, Sam, we have a whole class running. You can't hold a whole conversation. You have to put them in the corner. But when you see each other's faces and you say, they're there, you miss someone, hey, email each other and say, hey, I missed you. Are you okay? So we like to be able to see you on camera if we can. And we also understand you might have a bad hair day. You just don't want to be on camera. It's all right. Those are just a few of the frequently asked questions, and there are other questions that are asked. Just in coursework that we have coming up now, we have New Testament survey, biblical interpretation, intro to Christian worship, introduction to preaching, introduction to pastoral care, and introduction to Christian ethics. This will complete the cohort that began their classes in August. The cohort that began their classes in January will finish their programming in November. And so I stagger the cohorts about every 6 months apart. So a couple of the cohorts will overlap each other. And again, you can start wherever. You don't have to wait to the beginning of a new cohort. You can start in March if you like and carry over. But I mention these courses because I want to say a little bit about the professors that we bring in. Dr. Sharon Jacob, Dr. Dominique Denward, Reverend Cheryl Ward, and Dr. Kelly Turner will be teaching these next upcoming classes. Dr. Sharon Jacob was a former professor at PSR. She's top-notch, and she's a phenomenal teacher. She's able to work with graduate students and students within the community. She's just able to break down that New Testament and biblical interpretation like no one I ever knew. How do I know? Because I was her neighbor, and I stood on the stoop with her just learning about Mary. She's phenomenal. Most of the teachers are either current PSR professors, former PSR professors, PSR graduates, or PSR adjacent. And when I say PSR adjacent, I mean they knew a little bit about TEL, or they have been in and out or around PSR at some point. Everyone is either well respected within their community or holds some type of degree to teach what they will be teaching. You have top-notch professors that come in and take a broad subject and narrow it way down for 4 weeks, because you are Christian history in 4 weeks. That's a whole lot. But Bernie Schlager did a phenomenal job in teaching the history of the other in Christian history. So our professors take the task, take the assignments, and bring it down into bite-sized nuggets that just works for TEL students. Of course, it costs to go to TEL, but you all are part of the UCC Hawaii. And with our partners, we have special pricing within our partners. And so the tuition for CTEL for UCC Hawaii is $2,025. We waive your $20 application fee, and we waive your technology and administration fee. And I'll show you, if you want to sign up, I'll show you how to write in to waive the app fee, but we pretty much will know who you are when you sign up. If you just wanted to take individual classes, well, that's $175 per class. If you wanted just to take an individual seminar, which is, remember, that's only a one-time seminar, that's 3 hours, it's $50 per seminar. If you needed CEUs, we offer continuing education units. You just add $35 on top of the tuition, and we're able to do that for you as well. How to pay? There are different ways. You could pay it in full on top. If your church or organization is sponsoring you, we work through that. You could pay monthly, and we do all this currently through PayPal. If you need another way to pay through, maybe you don't do PayPal, again, we can work with you. One of the things I do enjoy, or I've been able to enjoy about CTEL, is once a student complete those 11 courses and 2 seminars, and they have completed everything, they are invited to Pacific School of Religion's commencement ceremony in May and receive their certification. They walk in their gown, they participate in those programs, and it's beautiful to watch. And we watched Linda and Roxanne to be able to participate. And I do hope, and I know that I'm being recorded, but I do hope and pray that we'll be able to get into Hawaii to do a commencement ceremony in Hawaii, because we do know that not everyone can get over into Berkeley, California. But at the end, to watch this commencement ceremony and the accomplishments be acknowledged is beautiful. And so whosoever decide to take up this challenge, for whatever you need, please come and see me. Again, I'm Reverend Tana Roseborough. I'm very reachable, even 5 hours away from you. I'm very reachable, and if you have any questions at some point, we'll have a Q&A. Please let me know. Thank you so much. Before I sit down, I will have available, if you would just like to see what a syllabus looks like. I offer 2 of the syllabus that we had from this particular past cohort, so that you might see what does syllabus look like? What does it entail? What are they really asking? Because I can tell you a whole lot of things, but this is truly the syllabus for the first 2 classes within our coursework. So you can get a look and a feel of what is it like to take a course at TEL. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Tana. And if you didn't pick up one of these when you came in, we've got one for everybody. And this basically kind of goes over all the different, both the history and programs. But if you open up to the middle section and turn over one more page, you'll see Tana in that picture and also Linda Kaovai Iwamoto, because she actually made it to graduation. And the 2 ladies in the front there are both the 2 from Hawaii that made it. And even though Tiffany Murati was not able to make it to graduation, she did complete the program. And since that time, our church has hired her as our youth director. And I've asked Tiffany to come up and just say a few words about her experience in the TEL program. So, Tiffany.
Okay, our classes were only 2 weeks long. So I'm a little jealous that they're 4 weeks now, because I could use 4 weeks instead of 2 weeks. But yeah, I guess my experience, it was, because I think we were the first ones. So we were the guinea pigs. It was rough. It was not easy, especially because I also held 2 pretty much full-time jobs on top of that. I'm very active in supporting my nieces and nephews and any other kids in our church with their sports. So I live in Kopa'a, and everybody else is down here on the south side, so it's a lot of travel time for me to support all of them. But I still did all of the classes, managed to hang through. Professors are wonderful. Like Tana was saying, they will work with you, because there were times I would tell them, I cannot do this. I don't have time to do this. And they would be like, Tiff, just show up on Saturday and you're good. You know, show up and participate, and that was enough. So it was nice. I was the youngest in my cohort as well. I did it with a bunch of pastors and retired pastors. So it was intimidating because they had all this extra knowledge that I did not have. But yet I still, like how Tana said, they became my family. That became my new family. They were there to support me. Only Linda and I were I think we started with about 7 of us on Kauai with the first class, and only 2 of us actually finished all of the classes within I think for us it was a little bit longer than the 13 months because of COVID, and Janice passed away in the middle of our cohort, so we had to adapt a lot of different things. But what I got out of it is that, 1, I was able to apply to become the youth director, because if I didn't do this class, I was not qualified. 2, it gave me a better understanding of the Bible, about how to deliver a message. I do at times deliver messages here at the church. And a lot of times I would just kind of talk about how God helped me. It was just more about my personal story, sharing with everybody. And now I am able to, with the help of, reading other people, how they interpret a scripture, being able to take some of that and relate it to my life and to put it all together and share what I think the scripture also means to myself. According to a lot of people at our church, they have seen me grow through this experience. I'm very grateful for it, because I don't think, I even found myself growing spiritually, understanding so much more, taking this, not so much as like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll just do a message, but more like, hey, what does this really mean? I think I take it more to heart. So yeah, it's a great program. I was fortunate, and Kahu, you can probably say, that the Kauai Association also helped out with some of the tuition costs. So, it made it that much, like affordable to also take take these classes. But to me, they were worthwhile. I did look at the new schedule, and there are a couple classes, even though I did take it, I think I might retake it just because some of the classes kind of went over my head at that time, and now I feel like more vested into it that I want to retake it and just try to get more out of it. So, is that enough? But yeah, I think that's my experience. It's fun. Especially meeting, like I wish I could get back together with Roxanne and Pastor Rob from Maui. It was just a nice, real supportive group. And knowing that I was the youngest, they actually gave me that chance to express myself, and they were always there to help me when I needed help, so, yeah.
Thank you, Tiffany. It sounds like it's time for a reunion for the cohort to get together and have a party and celebrate. So this is the time for question and answer, and I think I already heard a question without it being asked, and that had to do with financial aid. And the Kauai Association, which I serve on the executive committee for, since the program started, we've always paid a significant amount, usually $100 per class, which is more than half. So if you would like to be a part of the program, all you have to do is contact anybody on the executive committee. If you don't know anybody else, just let me know, and I will follow up and just make sure that, if you need help at all, no questions asked. And I think everybody who's taken a course so far has asked for the $100 discount, or not discount, but financial aid. 50%, 50%, okay. So whatever it is, 50%, and then many churches will help out as well. And then sometimes there's scholarship money in the Hawaii Conference Fund also. So you can take these courses that you would normally pay a lot more money for if you're taking them at the Master of Divinity level, for example, for practically nothing, So even the $175 is a bargain, but then, half of it's paid for by the association and then more. One of the things, before I just turn it over to question and answer, is I've been impressed how we have young people. Tiffany's in her 20s now, right? So, and some people that are like even older than me taking these courses, people that are retired ministers. But we've had people that are just, never taken a seminary course ever. And then people who have MDivs, Master of Divinity degrees. But the point is that no matter where you are in your journey of ministry, there's probably a class or a course or a seminar in there somewhere for you. So I encourage you to look at it. And then the little booklet that I was just showing you, take a look at that, go online, and just keep asking questions. So at this point, speaking of questions, I've asked Tiffany to be available if anybody has questions for her as a student. Tana, of course, is available if you have any questions regarding just the program or PSR. Michael, our videographer back there, has also taken 3 courses. And then there might be some other people here that have had some experience. So feel free to ask any questions. And again, because this is recorded and we want to be able to share it with people and hear your question, please use that microphone in the middle of the sanctuary. So do we have any questions at all? Oh, go ahead and use a microphone, please. Oh, and please tell us your name and what church you're from.
Beth Salling. I'm from Lihui Christian Church. Sorry, where am I from? My question is, I'm asking for somebody. So you meet, or not meet, but the classes are weekly, or is it bi-weekly? Because she has to work in the afternoons on a Saturday afternoon. So she was wondering, would the classes be available Saturday morning?
The time for classes always begin at 9 a.m. in Hawaii. We don't ever change the time. No, Hawaii time. Again, let me repeat. The classes always begin 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. Reason being because Hawaii does not change time zones. Everyone else does. So it makes it easier. You're the earliest that we're generally considering when we form classes. So it's always 9 a.m. You don't ever have to wonder. Everyone else, we have to give a reminder. But Hawaii Standard Time is always 9 a.m. Classes are 4 weeks long. Let me explain it again. You will meet on your first Saturday, typically. There are times it will change. Typically, you will meet the first Saturday, the first class, on Zoom. Your second week, your professor will have given you some assignment to be done via Moodle. You can also meet together as a group on your own within the different islands or different cohorts to talk about your assignments together. That's not prohibited at all. On your third Saturday, you will meet again on Zoom to talk about what you've done in the in-between week and to get maybe a final follow-up and description of what your final assignment will be if there's a final. Not all classes have a final project. Some classes will have a final project or a final paper or a final response. Not all classes do. But your final week will just be the last of whatever response that your professor gives, and you do not meet online on that fourth week. Okay? Give us your name, please.
David Eha with Lihue Christian Church. But how long is that Saturday class? From 9 to what time?
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
Yes. So you will have 3-hour classes. Your professors should give you at least a 5-minute break in that 3-hour times. What usually happens, I'm telling you, is that you come in for your first class, you'll do an introduction. The professor will do a brief lecture. The talk and the conversation, particularly after a cohort gets to know each other for a long time, for a good little while, conversation can really go. So we have to remind the professor, give them a break, because the conversation can be very, very lively. But 3 hours is the class time with a break in between.
Phyllis Megan, Lihue Christian Church. Are these graded classes or participation?
These are pass-fail classes. Your participation, you showing up for the Zoom classes, your participation in Moodle or turning in your assignments as needed, as you're supposed to, that all goes into your passing and your attendance as well. So we take attendance by how many times you show up on Moodle or how many times you show up in your classes. And, I mean, as we say, we know that life happens, so you may miss a Saturday Zoom class. We understand that. We also look, did you do your assignments? Were your assignments turned in? So all this goes towards your pass, fail, and attendance. Okay. Not so much graded as an A through not so much an A, but how much did you understand? What did you put into this? People come into these courses on various levels, and it doesn't matter whether a person is a pastor or not. I remind our professors that we're not grading on grammar. We're not. I'm not grading you for how well you can write. I'm not looking at how well you can write out a dissertation. Just what did you understand?
I would like to offer a comment from 2 people who have graduated. Mm-hmm. One who entered into your program with a PhD, and one who had not graduated from college at all. And they both were challenged in a very positive way by the class. So there is no reason to be intimidated in any way.
Thank you.
It was very, very good to be able to get that full range.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Please.
So the Moodle that she talks about, it's a, I don't know, it's a program, but also like, so if I submit my answer to a question that was posed, everyone can see my answer in a lot of the cases. Sometimes it's private, but a lot of times they can see an answer, but it generates this whole conversation. You know, so somebody else now, Pastor Roxanne can come and be like, hey, Tiff, I didn't think about that. Or, you know, like she can write something and I'm just like, can you explain that more? So it carries on this whole much longer conversation than just what you wrote. So, I mean, I actually enjoyed the Moodle. It was kind of tricky at first, but once you get it, I mean, it was like we would just send messages to each other. Like, if we haven't heard from someone, like how Tana said, we just send messages like, hey, is everything okay? So it was just not just turning in assignments, but it was a way to check in as well. So I enjoyed it.
Moodle, Moodle. Moodle is an online communications platform for courses. And so as a board member, when I was a trustee, we communicated through Moodle as well. So basically, we would have like 100 pages as a trustee that we were supposed to read before we showed up to meetings. And in case anybody's listening to this live, it might have been more like 200 pages. I did all the reading, so mainly. But I would just go onto Moodle, and they would tell me what to read, and I would go, oh, there it is, and I would just click a button, and it would be all there on screen for me, so they didn't have to mail all those pages to me. And then just at my leisure, I could look at it. Same thing for students. It's a platform for courses, and basically a communications platform for education. So. And any other questions for any of us or for each other even? Go ahead and use the microphone, please.
This is going to start in February?
Classes are already ongoing. The latest cohort started in January. February, we're going to have a special course called Professor of Practice. As I stated, though, you don't have to wait until the next cohort. I would make the suggestion to make the next start in March. If you're thinking about coming in, to come into the first course and start your courses in March. You can really start with TEL at any time versus waiting. The thing with the cohorts, I generally start with an orientation. If I know that you're going to come in and start and you want to do a TEL, I will do a side or personal orientation for you, and that's to introduce you to the professors, introduce you to Moodle, which because now Moodle has a brand new interface that I didn't know about until I got back to school in January. So we'll be doing in February. So if you're coming in and you know that you want to maybe start either with a professor of practice or start in March, you will be invited to come into this Moodle workshop, which we will not only for new students that are there, for current students because the interface changed and things look drastically different. So we want to be sure that everyone is able to find that. So the cohort itself has started. The next cohort will not start until August or September, but if you wanted to start now, you can.
I'm Rachel Furatani from the Hood Christian Church. I guess I had a different understanding when I first came of what this PSR was going to be. So I was looking at it in terms of what can we do to provide more for members of our congregation. Not so much a student. We are all students, but in terms of putting on like a class. So how many, when you offer classes, have you ever had specialized classes for a group of people from a church only, exclusive in an area that they're interested in learning?
What I would say to you is talk to me more offline. But the answer to your question immediately is no. That we have, I'm going to say no that I know of, but it may not be no completely. Again, I have been and I may not have shared with you, I've been in this position for 1 year. And my first half of the year, I was doing something completely different. So this is my first run at running CTEL as it is. So I can check back into the analogs, if you will, because we really are analog. We have paper files, analogs, and see what was, and again, just speak with me offline, maybe what you're thinking about, and then I can present this to administration and see what can happen. Okay.
Phyllis Megan again. Did you bring, or do you have a list of the courses in order that we can see it? Because I think it might address your question.
I think the same thing as well. Again, that would be, remember I was speaking about the frequently asked questions that I usually have. It's a 3-page document which has all the courses that are listed. Now, if you go online, one, yes, I do. I do have a list of it. I do not have a list that I can give out. But if you go onto psr.edu/centers/TEL, you'll see our calendar. For the most part, it is correct. I would like for you to give me 2 weeks because I just got back in and we need to have our website just updated, and our webmaster went on vacation. So webmaster went on vacation and I'm coming to Hawaii. So when you look at it within 2 weeks, you will see every single thing actually updated. But as it stands, there's only one course that needs to be moved out of place. But everything is offered already online. So if you look at it, for the most part, everything that's coming up through August is already online, except for Professors of Practice, which will come up in February. And let me just speak more, because I keep saying Professors of Practice and you don't know what it is. And frankly, I don't either, because it's a new thing for me. But Professors of Practice is a way that we are allowing the graduate students and the TEL students to come together. This particular course runs 4 weeks, but the TEL students will only be able to do 3 weeks of it because they have another class that starts up in March. There will be a professor, and I'm sorry, her name slips my mind, that will be coming and doing seminars on Thursday evenings, which is about 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So she'll do a lecture. Professor Leonard will do a lecture after her. So TEL students and graduate students will meet together on Thursdays to listen to this lecture and respond to the lecture. TEL students will meet with Dean Susan Abraham on Saturdays to respond to the lectures that they heard on Thursday evening. What I do know is that we offer TEL as a weekend class, mostly for the most part. So people are able to come on the weekends and may not be able to come on weekdays. So if a student is not able to do the weekends, we do not penalize students for not being able to make this particular class. It is our first offering as having joint classes, but that's what Professor of Practice is. This professor is coming to speak about her work in Africa with something more, and I'll have to look that up and tell you what it is, but it's new to me as well. So March, like I said, we'll be starting with biblical interpretation and introduction to New Testament.
In just a moment, I'll ask if there's any final questions, but as Tana was explaining that, I just happened to go on to PSR TEL, that's all I typed into my search engine, and found the page, all the frequently asked questions that Tana was referring to, and then I clicked on, let me see what it is here. Okay, frequently asked questions, and then I scrolled down, and it's got all the courses listed so far that Tana just spoke about under 2023, Old Testament. Well, one of these you said might change, I think, but Old Testament survey, biblical interpretation, New Testament survey, contemplative Christian spirituality, introduction to Christian worship, introduction to preaching, introduction to pastoral care, introduction to Christian ethics. So it's all right there. And if there's any changes, as Tana said, that will be updated within the next couple of weeks. But if you are thinking, oh my gosh, February is coming up and I already know I want to take biblical interpretation, you can take that one class. I mean, you can take any one class whenever you want. But then if you do think you're interested in getting a certificate, it would be really nice to either join when the cohort starts or make sure you join the cohort meeting, right? Just so that people will explain things to you like Moodle, PSR, TEL, all these things that some of us talk about because it's been a part of our life for years. But mainly we just want to make sure that it's a positive experience for you. And I was listening to one of your questions and I thought, hey, if there's something that is really important to your church, there's a good chance that all the churches in Hawaii might want to learn that as well. And tell Tana, here's something that we think would be really important. And if other churches want to do that, perhaps that can be a new subject the following year or whatever. So are there any other questions? David? Yeah.
Thank you
Oh, go ahead and use a microphone. Let us know. Yeah, your great question.
David E. here with Louis Christian Church. I noticed in the historical background of PSR that in 1942 they opposed the Japanese internment during World War II. But going back to 1903, there was a connection that started at Louis Christian Church. Mr. Uchida, a graduate of Doshisha University in Kyoto, was asked to come to Louis Christian Church and help with the ministry. After 3 years, he relocated to the West Coast, got married, and his two daughters, one had graduated from Mills, and one had was in Berkeley when the war broke out, so she received her diploma or degree in the Stables south of San Francisco. So that daughter, Michiko Uchida, eventually became an author and wrote a lot of her experiences about the camp and discrimination and became a well-known author. So when she passed away, she left her collection to the UC Berkeley Library. So with the internet, I was able to Google it and found pictures of our church, 1903. And then there were stories one of the stories she wrote got into one of the readings for intermediate students, and it talks about how her parents always invited students from Japan who were at PSR. So I think following the war, they never, I don't think they returned, but anyway, she had some stories about how her parents always entertained students from Japan who were studying at PSR. So a little connection.
Thank you, David, for sharing that and also for sending some of that information to me several months back. It seems to me that PSR has always had a very intimate connection with the church in Hawaii. Many of my colleagues have been trained at PSR. For example, Phyllis Megan went to PSR. And many of you know Jeannie Thompson, who now is on Oahu. She went to PSR. Olaf from Waimea went to PSR. So there's been a connection here that's been really important to us. And one of the things that brought about the TEL program, however, is that not everybody can just take 3 years off of their life or more and move and go study somewhere and then come back or minister here. But the idea is there's a lot of people that live in Hawaii that would love to either minister in churches, minister in their communities, or do that better. And this program is really designed to help give you the tools in leadership so that you can be a better leader in your church and in your community. So I'm just really excited to see this coming about. And if there's no other questions, I don't see anybody raising their hands, so I'll just go ahead and wrap up now, if that's okay. What I said at the beginning, one of my roles was as the chair of the development committee. And I don't remember exact figures, but talking to David Vasquez-Levy, the president of PSR, several years ago, before we even started the TEL program in Hawaii, looking at how much it was going to cost, we just said, we've got to figure out how to do this. This is just too important. And I'm constantly reaching out to people who have the ability to make some large gifts. And somebody this morning in church just handed me a check for $2,500 that's going to go to the TEL program. So I want you guys to know if you can give at any level, or if your church can support it, or people that might do that, that makes it easier for all of us so we can always offer financial aid assistance. And also, like I said, the tuition is just a small part of the overall cost of any of the programs at PSR. So on that note, I want to thank each and every one of you just for being here today. I know that on a Sunday afternoon, there's plenty of other things to do, especially with this beautiful weather, but I'm really glad you came and shared. Tana and I, and Tiffany, I think for a little bit anyway, will stick around for a while and just see if you have any personal questions that you might have for us. So thank you, and let me just say a closing prayer. Our gracious God, as we bring this time to a close, we are so grateful for Tana and for her leadership and for the gifts that she has, and we thank you that she has the energy and the concern and will to make this program successful. And we ask for your every blessing upon all of the efforts that she puts into this now and in the future. And we also thank you for all the professors, all the administrators, and everyone at PSR, including all the trustees that do so much to make theological education just as meaningful as possible and as accessible and as affordable as possible. We thank you and ask you now that as we all go our separate ways, we will remember this day, especially the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., to dream dreams not only for ourselves, but for our communities, our nation, and the world. Amen. And we do have little badges, pins, if anybody would like one. I forgot to hand those out, but there's a whole bunch of them back there, so feel free to take a pin as well. Thank you very much.